All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the electorate political talk radio.
You hear
And
me
we
now?
are here this evening. The electorate political talk radio legacy of the General Colin Luther Powell. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our tonight's show. Prince, brother, what's going on with
What's good, Mac? Fantastic. Even though
you?
we're even though we're here for a sad occasion, but it's still fantastic that he lived a great and honorable life. So I'm glad we're here to to speak on it and just see what he meant to all of us.
Right, right. Even though he was a Republican, man, he was one of the highest ranking officials, probably next to Obama, you know, that inspired me to get involved in public service to a certain extent. First black chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, first black national security advisor, first black secretary of state. And there was some buzz. I don't know if you recall, late 90s, early 2000s, that he might actually be the first black president of the United States. But it was because of people like General Powell that I think he paved the way for people like President Obama
Yep.
to kind of follow in his footsteps and become that first. He had enough first blacks. He had he had a nice first black run. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Exactly. But yeah, he's
But and it's ironic because even though his politics was quote unquote he was a Republican, um, a lot of Republicans didn't like him because he was more of a moderate,
hmm
and he worked to expand the party. He actually pushed the Republican Party to be more appealing to black voters,
hmm
and also he was pro-choice. He believed in women's rights, and he was pro-affirmative action. So those two issues really didn't make him any friends.
especially in the Republican Party of the '90s and 2000s. Definitely
Right.
wouldn't fly now. Definitely wouldn't fly.
Definitely wouldn't fly now. So I just want to pitch it to you if you could just talk about General Powers. I know, man, I don't know about you, but preparing for this episode, I felt like I was getting ready for a term paper or a test, a quiz, or,
I don't
or
know
some
if I'm
kind of book
adequately.
report. Uh
I don't
oh.
know if. Oh, you got me.
Yeah, I got you back. Yeah, I
All
got you
right.
back.
I don't know if I'm adequately prepared, but I mean, I don't know if I can do it justice. I mean, if everything he's. I
Right.
mean,
This real informal. I just kind of want to reflect on him, and there's plenty of information out there, but definitely, let's just talk a little bit about your reflection on General Powell and his early life, and go from there.
well, like I said, I remember my first time seeing General Powell. Like I think this when he was appointed to be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That was probably around the well, I guess it was '89 when George H.W. Bush was in office, and I just remember seeing him on television, and it's just like I think I said this in like the post that I made on social media, just like representation matters, for like a little black boy
Right.
in in uh Bessemer, Alabama, and you see this black man who's a four-star general, and he's taking up the reins of being the chief military advisor to the president of the United States, like the highest ranking soldier in the country. I mean, if
Right.
that does matter to you. I mean, you when you see that, you say, "Oh wow, I can aspire to like my dreams and my goals too." I mean, because even then, like I said I didn't because I think a lot of us like assumed that he was just this West Point graduate and he was at all the Ivy League schools and whatever and all this officer training, but really he's just a normal kid, a kid of a child of immigrants from Jamaica, and he went
Right.
to the City University of New York. Just a city, no public university in New York. And usually, when you think about the leadership, as in with the presidency or any of your top leadership in the country, you think you had to go to an Ivy League school or whatever. Or you had to be well heeled, but he was just a child of immigrants that just had a public school education and then just took part in the ROTC program, and then the ROTC program led him to the ultimate heights that he ended up being as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff when I first you know laid eyes on him on television. So I mean, it's just like when you think about it, he just came from like humble beginnings to rise up to the highest levels of power in this country. That's just an amazing thing to just think about.
And one thing that I think is amazing about the military is, and I was reading about some General Powell's early life and how he got started, and and kind of in line with what you were saying, he wasn't the best student. He
Oh yeah.
wasn't the greatest student, but he found something he was good at, and
Yep.
he talked about how when he got into military school and got into ROTC, how he loved it and excelled at it. And the military is one of those entities, I think, where if you can get in it while you're young and you love it from a young age, you can ride it out 50 or 60 years, and you can have multiple careers while you're in the military. And I think that's fascinating, for a black man to be able to do that,
Hmm.
especially coming up. You talking about starting out in the Nixon era and the, multiple Republican presidents and Democratic presidents. He worked in, all these different presidential administrations, you know, and so that's what was fascinating to me. The fact that he
Hmm.
got in it while he was young and he rode it out pretty much his whole career. Now, like you
Yes.
said, you have different jobs within the military, but you're still tied to it. National Security Advisor, Joint Chiefs of Staff, Deputy National Security Advisor, and just reading about his life, how he networked and everything, how he was one of his buddies, I think, was friends with the Cheneys when Dick Cheney was Secretary of Defense. And that got him an inside track, to the White House and
Yep.
to getting these appointments.
Because
He would go ahead.
I know I just said because I think he served as like a White House fellow. I mean,
Yeah,
earlier in his career, and then like I said, when he became the national security advisor during the Reagan administration, he kept his commission. He was able to keep his commission in the army, and then of course, it was keeping his commission that led him on the path to becoming chairman of the Joint
Chairman
Chiefs,
of the
and then
Joint Chiefs.
also
Yeah,
later on into Secretary of State. So I mean, it's just a amazing life. I mean,
it's fascinating, man.
and then it
And
doesn't seem like and plus it doesn't seem like he really gave up a lot of his. I mean, we can talk about something else later on, about the complicated role in the Second Iraq War, but for the most part, you really don't think that he gave up his principles or anything. Like he didn't really forget who he was.
right, right. And like I said, man, whenever I got into these intense debates with Republicans about, Democratic Party versus Republican Party, and I always challenge them, tell me, one Democrat that you highly respect.
Yeah,
Tell me, say something good about a Democrat that you know. And whenever they ask me that, my first response was
Colin Powell.
always General Colin Powell, always number one.
And the thing about it, I always respected him. Like even when I was like I said,
Right,
when I first came up to know him up in '89, we became chairman of the Joint Chiefs, but even through the '90s in high school, college, whatever. But a lot of people really, really became to respect him, after the 2008 election, when he first endorsed President Obama, because he felt that being on the
right.
right side of history, and he just felt that he wanted to. He was thinking more of his country than of party. So I mean, a lot of people really gained a lot of respect for him for that. But a lot of the respect from a lot of people just really come from even way in the past from then. So it's amazing that he just had like that reservoir of like respect and support from all areas of the country. So
And one thing that I always challenge people with General Powell, for me, I always listen to him.
yeah,
With these guys, when you talk about black Republicans, I always listen to what they have to say.
Hmm.
And when you listen to General Powell, he doesn't sound partisan. And maybe that's more of his military background. Even when he was speaking at the RNC, one of the best speeches I think he ever gave was at the RNC. And he didn't sound like a quote unquote Republican. And go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I was just actually listening to the radio earlier. I think it was either today or yesterday. That I think I was listening to one radio program. They were just talking about how a lot of the black conservatives of the day that like the Candace Owens and all the
Yeah.
other people, or
Alan
Ted Scott,
West,
yeah, Alan West, yeah,
all
Alan
those
West,
guys. Yeah.
yeah, and Larry Elder, like they just they seem like they have like a disdain for their people, but
Right.
but this host said that when you hear from Colin Powell, it just didn't seem like he had a disdain for his people. Like he didn't. It
No.
didn't seem like when he spoke, it always came from a level of competence and just and dealing with whatever the policy is at that moment, whether it's not you know raising up his ego or just raising up the party. It's whatever he felt it was right at that time. And he just said like he just didn't really have a disdain for for black people. It's just like he he knew he was a conservative and he probably wouldn't have agreed with him on a lot of like national security issues, maybe, but he still didn't seem like it came from a place of like disdain for black people.
Right. Right. And that's the thing about General Powell. You always knew he was speaking from a place of love. You know, for black people, wanting to bring black people into the Republican
Hmm.
Party. And another guy that I give a little bit of credit to is Michael Steele. In
Yeah.
that same kind of vein, like I don't put him in the same category as the Candace Owens and Stacey Dashes and all these type folks who seem to be pandering, for
And
a check
it and
necessarily.
actually it would be very easy for him to do that right now.
Right, 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 right. So, I give him all the credit in the world. I was very sad to see him pass away.
Mhm.
Um, but I go ahead.
Oh no, no, you go ahead. No, I'm good.
Let's talk a little bit more about the first Iraq War.
Mhm.
This is where he became a national hero. I think his
Yeah.
his stock just skyrocketed. He was quoted as saying, first we're gonna cut it off, then we're gonna kill it." And he
Hmm.
talked about the Powell doctrine. Well, he didn't talk about the. I think the media kind of came up with that phrase, the Powell doctrine. But basically, the Powell doctrine is we only go to war if it's in the best interest of the United States. If
Hmm.
we can have overwhelming victory, and then the people support you 100%.
Hmm.
And that's a good, and that seems to be a fair doctrine. If you're going to put our troops in harm's way, make sure it's for the right reasons. Make sure there's a path to victory. Have a clear objective that's achievable, um, and we can get out
Yeah,
quickly. He
exactly.
didn't agree initially with toppling Saddam Hussein, and I think if you recall, George H.W. Bush, didn't go that far.
Hmm.
In the first Iraq War, we left Saddam Hussein in power. But we did want to push him out of Kuwait.
Hmm.
Um,
And some people that was the mission. The mission was just to
right,
push
that was
him
the
out of
mission.
Kuwait. But
It-
there's others conservatives like no Dick Cheney. They wanted to go further in and actually start the like I said the overthrow of Saddam, and then also the take on
right,
the broken country, which we would find out later on, like 10 years later, over 10 years later, why we didn't do it.
right. Because Saddam basically was he kept the Middle East somewhat stable.
Yeah.
You talk about the chaos now with Syria, Iran, and just all of these countries.
Hmm.
Um, but General Powell, like I said, he just had this cool, calm demeanor, very assertive, very good with people.
Hmm.
There was one article I read that when he was, I think, Secretary of State, I'm not sure what security level he got when he was chairman of the Joint Chiefs, but he didn't want security. He would still get Secret Service level security. I think from the State Department. I think they call it diplomatic security,
Yeah.
and he didn't want people in his house. So he said, y'all can't be inside my house. That's just, I mean, that's just how cool he was. I think he gave him a spot in a garage
Yeah.
or some secondary structure on the property, right?
But he
But
didn't want that Secret Service level protection that the
yeah, he
president
didn't
would
want that.
get.
I mean, he still had a high level of security, but they actually made him sign a waiver
Mm,
because he would basically go out without security, and they made him sign a waiver to say, hey, if something happened on you, on your watch, that's on you,
yeah.
because he was because he wasn't worried about that.
Yeah.
That's just the kind of guy that he was. And if you look at all the organizations that he was involved in, the service organizations, he always cared about people. He always cared about students,
Hmm.
and these people that interned with him and worked with him in these different fellowships. They always say he was very engaged. He was always one of those people that took the time. I won't name any names, but I ran into a congressman. And they didn't really have the time of day.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you barely been in office, you know, however long you've been. And he had a failed run for governor, but I'm not gonna call his name. And this guy acted like he was too important to talk to me, right? But
Hmm.
when I met Congressman John
Yeah.
Lewis,
Yep.
the late John Lewis,
Had all the time in the
Congressman
world.
Lewis talked to me for a good 5-10 minutes. It's a line of people. And he's sitting here asking me where I'm from. I say, well, I'm from Monroeville, Alabama. Congressman Lewis start naming people he know from Monroeville, asking me if I know them. That's just the kind of man that he was. And that's the kind of thing that you hear about General Powell. Like with all the credentials, with all the accolades, with all of the military experience, still humble, still taking the time
Yep.
to inspire people, still taking the time to talk to people. And that's what I admire about guys like that. I never had the opportunity, unfortunately, to meet General Powell,
Yeah.
but
That's
I
the one thing I
felt
hate.
that. What's that?
No, that's one thing I hate. I never did either.
Right. But I felt that whenever he spoke, whenever he gave an endorsement after he stopped endorsing Republicans for president, right? Whenever he endorsed President Obama twice and Hillary Clinton and President Biden,
But
if you listen every time he spoke, man, I mean, it was just from the heart. It didn't feel like he was giving a speech. It felt like you were having a conversation.
exactly, like that's kind of this. Like I know, like I've had that same experience with Congressman Lewis when he was alive, like on a couple of occasions. Like he was just,
Right.
I mean, just very available, very warm, and just wants to know, no one to know about you. That he wasn't the person to just talk about himself. Uh, but it's just and also I do remember another Republican, former Republican Congress from the state. He actually did take the time to speak to me also. Like I still remember that, but
Right.
that's not like. But a lot of the people in Washington, they do get like that into that bubble, and they feel like
It's amazing to me,
yeah,
man.
they feel like they're like
Like,
all power omnipotent. Why are you speaking to
I'd
me
be
and
like,
all?
you barely in office three,
Exactly.
4 years, and you already think you think you Obama Jr. or something. I mean,
Yeah.
but these titans
Yes.
that really have the resume,
Yes. The gravitas.
they take the time for people,
And I do,
you
and
know.
I did feel that way about General Powell. I mean, it just feels like he was
Yes.
just sincere, and like I say, he wasn't. Again, as I said earlier in the show, like he just seemed like he wasn't coming from a place of hate or anything. It just always seemed like he was coming from a place of love and and understanding. And I do remember that endorsement uh that he made for President Obama back in 2008. I think it
Oh
was like
yeah,
oh,
a lot of
meet
people
the
feel
press.
like that put him
Yeah,
over the top.
exactly. I mean, it doesn't look like it was like it was like he was going. It didn't seem like he was going through the motions. This is a political endorsement. This is going to lead me up to higher standing and thing. Like it really like felt like he was just like he didn't even have that prepared. It was just like it came straight from the heart right then and there. And like, you're right. It could have. It probably helped turn a lot of votes over to President Obama at that time. So I like I said, I still remember that speech even when it's been like over 13 years later.
Right,
it's
right. Yeah, I'm trying to get you. My bad.
Oh no, you're fine. So do I supposed to speak?
Oh man, I done got having some technical difficulties here.
Yeah, but like I said, it's just I don't know. I just when a lot of people just feel like they get that vibe from different people, and it just and I got that vibe from General Powell. It just seems like he's just just like a normal guy. Like we say, he just started out from the streets of New York, no immigrant's child, and rose it up to the high levels of power in this country, and he don't seem like it phased him at all. He's just this normal guy who's married to his wife for about over 5 decades, six decades, and a Alabama girl, no
Yeah,
Birmingham girl.
and he got a. Hey, if you can get, we ain't gonna go there, but I give him a lot of credit for getting a Birmingham woman. I'm gonna say,
Yeah,
hey, you
so
can pull one in Birmingham, you can pull one anywhere, right?
pull him a Birmingham girl. Yeah,
Let me stop. Let's keep it
that's another
political, right?
show. That's
Yeah,
another.
that's another show, right? But you know, I want to talk about that set. We might as well get into it. I want to talk about that second lead up to second Gulf War
Mm,
when he was the Secretary of State. And he called that a blot on his record. The Iraqis hate him. You'll hear terms like war criminal and all this kind of stuff. And he was, he's not well respected in Iraq because they feel like he destroyed their country and he made the justification. But of course, they don't have the whole story.
mm-hmm.
In my estimation, the President Bush,
Yeah,
was responsible.
he's
George
the
W.
president.
Bush was responsible. He's the president. And they were going to Iraq, in my humble opinion, with or without General Powell.
Yep.
General Powell made the Bush administration go to the UN first. If people recall, they weren't even thinking about going to the United Nations to make the justification on the world stage.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to go in unilaterally. We didn't really care. And I kind of felt like there's some comments that President Bush made. He tried to kill my daddy and all this kind of thing, where I felt like the war in Iraq was more personal, may have been oil based. We won't get into any conspiracies and all that kind of thing. But General Powell said, "Hey, if you're gonna go, if you break it, you own it. That's good advice from your Secretary of State. If you break it, you own it. If
Mm-hmm.
you go, you need to go with the United Nations.
You gotta
So
have
that
some
you have
buy-in.
so you got to get buy-in from the world stage. That's less wear and tear on American troops when you shoulder the burden and you share it with other countries.
Mm-hmm.
Build the justification. Now the intelligence was wrong. He lied. General Powell lied to the UN,
Yeah.
but he was going off of the information that he had. And in my estimation, I don't know this, but that intelligence was going to say what it needed to say for us to go into Iraq. There was no way we were not going into Iraq that second time. General Powell, thank God he was in the Bush administration at the time. I think he was the fall guy, in
Yeah.
terms of, oh, we never found weapons of mass destruction. Oh, the intelligence was bad. And even General Powell, to his credit, took accountability.
Yep. Even if it
Said, I should
even
have
if it
smelled the
was.
rat.
Yeah.
Yes, I should have known something wasn't right about this. But it wasn't his job to know something wasn't right about it. That was the intelligence services job. The
Mm-hmm.
CIA and all, the national, military intelligence is their job to figure these things out and provide the information to the decision makers. Once it gets to General Powell and President Bush, they're
They
going
just
off of
act.
what they telling them.
Mm-hmm. And
So whether you believe it was some sort of conspiracy or whatever the case may be, it wasn't General Powell's decision. He was the one that said, if you're gonna make this decision, you have to do it the right way. And I
mm,
hate when people blame General Powell for the second Iraq war because he wasn't the president. He was the
yeah.
Secretary of State. But and if you look at those, I watched some of those justifications, those hearings at the United Nations, And when I tell you General Powell was brilliant, he was brilliant. He had bad intelligence. He was up there
But he
lying.
sold it. He sold it.
But he sold it, man. It was one of the most brilliant professional displays, I think, in American history. If you're interested, go back and look at General Powell's lead up to the war in Iraq. It was brilliant. I mean, it was insane. It was just insane how brilliant it was. There were women. The young lady I was dating at the time, her mama was around, General Powell's age, and some of the comments she was making, they have nothing to do with going to war in Iraq.
Oh, look at him! Look
She was
at
like,
that!
"Girl, did you see Colin Powell and all this kind of stuff?" So, but it was intellectually brilliant, the case that he made, and so I wish people just understood that it wasn't his fault.
Yeah.
If you want to blame somebody, it was President Bush um who made the decision.
Well,
But
I
go
mean,
ahead. I'm
oh,
sorry, I
no,
got
no,
on
no.
my
Oh,
soapbox
no,
a
no,
little
no,
bit.
no. Like you said, just let it. If you just let it go, let it run free. Let you. But all I was gonna say, like, I mean, I think it's fair to to critique his involvement in the lead up to the war. It's fair. It's fair. I mean, he did go to the UN. He did sail the war. But even though when you look back in different news takes back then, he didn't want to go to Iraq, but he was being a good soldier. He was doing his job as the Secretary of State to do it. I mean, to at least make sure that the war didn't go off the rails as bad as it
Right,
did.
right, right.
So, and like I said, he felt it was his responsibility to at least go to the UN to get that buy-in from the international community instead of the United States just going roughshod right into Iraq and owning the whole thing, which we still pretty much ended
Right.
up owning it all anyway. But that was his warning to the Bush administration. But as you saw, like with George W. Bush, he was more of a black and white kind of guy. He never saw gray. like
Right, right,
like he
right.
said, if this the intelligence saying that there's weapons of mass destruction, let's go, let's do it.
Yeah.
I mean, and then also I don't know whether you can say he had other intentions or especially a lot of people feel Dick Cheney did. I mean, there's a lot of
Well,
you can say a lot of proof there is that he did have other intentions
well,
to
well,
get in
I
there.
will say this. I'm gonna just leave these facts out there. These two facts I want to share with you, and I'm gonna let our audience decide whatever they're gonna decide with these
Hmm.
two facts. So the facts are the Iraqi Secret Service tried to assassinate George H.W. Bush when he traveled to Kuwait. I
Yeah,
think it
that was a fact.
was.
That was a
That's a
fact.
fact. Second fact is George W. Bush is on record as saying he tried to kill my daddy in reference to Saddam Hussein. That's another fact. So, and we went to war in Iraq with faulty intelligence that they had weapons of mass destruction when they didn't. That's
And
another fact. So, you can take those three facts and you can do whatever you want to
we
do
know
with
shit.
them.
And we know through human
You
nature,
can draw
like you said,
whatever conclusion you want to draw.
and like you
You
said, through
know,
human nature, we can make things tell the story that we want it to tell the story of. I
right.
mean, we could if we wanted to say something, we're gonna make it fit
And,
our particular narrative or our thought process. So, but
and it was General Powell's job, one thing being a soldier, he knew who the commander in chief was. It
yeah,
was his job to go and present that information to the United Nations.
yep,
And being a good soldier, the president outranks you. That's your job.
yeah.
You
That's
know,
just
so
that was his
I
mindset. He was a soldier.
yeah,
I mean, that
he's a
was his mind.
soldier.
And like I
Yeah,
said, that was how long he was in it. I mean, that was like an over 35-year career in the army. I mean, that he was just
yeah,
ingrained in him. I mean, he respected the chain of command, and if his president gave it, if he gave his advice, his concerns to the president, and the president took it and then made his own decision, that's it. I mean,
right.
where the president's decision is go. So the only thing you have to do is maybe you stick around to try to make the best of it, or you resign. which I mean, a lot of people feel like he should have resigned, but I mean, maybe he could have. But I think General Powell just felt like it was his obligation to just try to stick around to like I said, make the best out of the worst situation there was. So,
That's right.
but,
That's
but
right.
again, like I said, it's fair to critique his involvement in that, but we gotta know like the all the facts. We gotta know like all of the backstory of it before you really just say that he's like the a number one person at fault in bringing the war about in Iraq. So it's a I'll say like a lot of people have like complicated histories.
That's
a lot
right.
of the
That's right.
I mean, a lot of the celebrities that a lot of people worship, they have complicated histories. I mean, so
Yeah.
I mean, it just depends on I mean, what type of penance did they do? Like, did they apologize for the things that or the blots in their on their record, which General Powell did. He
He
said
took
that
a
was
he yes, he took
that was
responsibility.
responsibility for it. So I mean, I think that's kind of that speaks well of his character as a man and as a public servant. So
And
uh,
people are gonna, of course, talk about it now because he just passed away. But I think when that day comes for President Bush, he's gonna probably catch a lot more of it
hmm
for the Iraq War than anybody.
yep.
And even Vice President Dick Cheney.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so, I
Well,
mean,
see
so
what
I
happened.
mean,
Well, Donald Rumsfeld,
and
he
Donald
died.
Rumsfeld, right?
He died what a few months back, right? A few months back. So
Yeah,
and that was the first thing they spoke of is his leadership of the Iraq War, and the mess that came after. So
and a lot of people credit that with the election of President Obama. They said the Iraq War was a huge sticking point
hmm
during the election, even though it was against Senator John McCain, rest in peace. A
again,
lot of
another
it was some
complicated history.
accountability. There was some accountability for the Bush administration. He wasn't running against Bush, but Bush's actions and in representing the Republican Party were on the ballot. And I
Yep.
think John McCain probably caught some of that. Well, matter of fact, I know he did. He caught some of that
Oh yeah.
slack for that. So, um,
And like I said, it's just I mean, I know a lot of people just say, like, no, he doesn't deserve any type of just because he's dead doesn't mean that he deserves any type of reflection or positive reflection. But I mean, again, like I said, a lot of people have complicated. A lot of people's histories are even a lot more complicated that you can't like put a put a positive light on it. But I think in General Powell's case, I think his character and his record over his service to his country. I think it trumps everything else. I mean, even with his.
no pun intended, right?
I mean, oh yeah, sorry. There was lack of a better term. I know
Right.
he's killed that word, but
Yeah.
but yeah, but it's again, like I said, it's always fair to critique someone and in the mistakes and then the issues that they have in the record, but it's also fair to just say that this was I think at his core was a great and honorable man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely. Rest in peace to General Colin Luther Powell. Fly high, soldier. And we're really thankful for your service to your country, both as a soldier and a civilian. And so it's hard to talk a whole hour about General Powell. So I guess we can guess we can kind of pivot a little bit. I want to ask you about what's going on in Washington D.C. right now with President Biden. What are your thoughts about his progress thus far? I'll give you my take. We kind of talked about it in Group Me, I know today. Uh, what do you think about uh, President Biden's progress so far and where he is currently?
I think he started out on a high note and everything, but right now I think his presidency is on the line right now if he can't get those those two bills out of the Congress, the infrastructure bill, and then
Infrastructure
also
bill, yeah.
and it was 3.5 billion budget bill, a trillion budget bill.
Trillion, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I think but the thing is like they call them moderate Democrats, but they're conservative Democrats, and
Right, right,
they've
right.
been whittling
Mansion and
away. Yeah,
cinema.
it's mentioned cinema too, but
Yeah.
they've been whittling away at that 3.5, and that was the bill that was going to bring the progressives on board because they didn't really like
Yes.
a lot of the things that were in the infrastructure bill because they pretty much they felt there was a lot of giveaways to corporations and private industry. But the budget bill was supposed to be with the programs that a lot of the progressives cared about, with child care, uh, more a more robust Medicare program for the country, and it seems like a lot of those senators, which is Cinema and Manchin, they are just whittling it away, and a lot of them, and it just seems like they're just. It's not like they have like an ideology, like they feel like, oh yeah, we're spending too much, which that's what they will say, but what do they want? Like what what is they just, it just seems like they just want to kill the provisions in that bill just because.
Well, I
And
think they are good. Well, I think they're gonna get both bills through, first of all. And I think they're going to get both bills through for the simple fact that if progressives hadn't blocked the infrastructure bill, um, to get the other, I think it's you got two bills. You got one that the moderates wanted
this is the
to go through first,
bipartisan. Yeah,
yes, and then you got the ones that the progressives wanted, which was the 3.5 trillion one. Well, the only reason the $3.5 trillion bill is still on the table is because progressives blocked the other bill. Because a lot of them believe that if they had voted for the other bill before getting this one, then they wouldn't even be talking about any money for the other
oh
bill.
yeah,
They would have
oh
kicked the
yeah,
can down the road. They wouldn't have even addressed it. So because progressives blocked that other bill from passing the infrastructure bill, now they're going to get something. It's not going to be 3.5 trillion. It's probably going to be 1.7 trillion. Somewhere under 2 trillion is the last number that I'm
now.
reading. But they're going to get both bills, I think, because Democrats know if they don't get both bills, they in trouble in 2022.
Well,
They
the
probably
thing
in trouble anyway. But I
exactly.
but I think they're slow rolling it out. But they're gonna get something. I think they have a tentative agreement as of maybe today, so they're going to get both bills.
Yeah,
Now the one that the progressives want is not going to be as big, and they're going to be disgruntled. They're going to hold their nose and vote for it because they know they got to have it.
and the thing is, it kind of started. I think it started out at like 6 trillion, and then
Yes,
the negotiation was okay. We'll take 3.5 trillion. Okay, and then
and
now it's
then
like
they said,
we're negotiating against ourselves again, and say we're gonna bring it
right,
down to 2 and 1. That's the thing that a lot of the progressives are losing their minds over. Is like we already negotiated. This was a deal. So
yeah,
why
the
are we going back on the
3.5
deal?
trillion was supposed to be the
It's the
deal,
deal. Yeah.
and they wanted it trimmed down even more. And so, imagine in cinema, I don't know what's going on. I don't know who's pulling the strings. I think there may be some more. There may be more to the story. Um, Now, West Virginia, Manchin, he can do this and not be held accountable.
Yeah.
He's a Democrat that wins a state that goes 60 plus, 70 plus% for Trump in 2020. So I mean, he's the only Democrat that can get elected in that state statewide. So
But
you really can't hold him accountable. Sinema, on the other hand, can be primaried and can be beaten by another Democrat
yep.
because Arizona is not as red as West Virginia. And so I
Okay.
think there may be some. She been getting accosted at the airport. So I
Well,
mean,
not Acosta. Her constituents are reaching out to her because
yes.
she don't do town hall meetings. She don't answer calls and emails and
And
anything like
what's
that.
what's
So
wrong with these people,
I don't know
man?
I don't
What
know
is
what her
wrong with
deal
them?
is.
You get elected to Senate, you represent the people. Now
People,
I
I mean,
understand Joe Manchin is representing his folks.
well,
As pissed off as well. I know what you finna say, but let
yeah,
me
it's
say
not
this.
his people, but I got what you're saying.
Yeah, Joe Manchin can do what he want to do.
Mhm.
And he don't have to care what Bernie and AOC or any Democrat feels
Yeah,
about it because West Virginia politics is exactly what he's doing.
yeah, that's not
Exactly, and
like
he can get reelected in perpetuity doing exactly what he's doing. So I tell people, you can get mad at Joe Manchin all he wants to. He's not concerned about what anybody think outside of West Virginia.
Oh yeah.
Now us objectively looking at it, the stuff that he's cutting is not beneficial for
The
West
people
Virginia
in it.
residents. And I think that's what you were about. That's the
Yeah, oh
point you
yeah.
were going to make.
And
Go
that's
ahead
the
and make
thing
that.
though. But that's the thing though. Like the programs that he wants to, because there is reports that he said that he could live with like there's nothing there. He said that he wants zero. Like he can live with that. But the thing
Right.
is, a lot of the people in West, I mean, a good part of the population of West Virginia would benefit from those. But the thing is, they vote. A lot of them probably vote on social issues, and they would vote for the Republican, even though the programs in this quote unquote socialist agenda would actually help them. But again, like I said, I get Manchin because he's kind of he's preaching to a different choir, in
That's
West
right.
Virginia. That's
And
his.
he will
Yeah,
lose his seat.
yeah.
He will
And then
lose his seat if he does what every other Democrat in the nation wants him to do.
yeah,
He wouldn't be a senator anymore. And then you get replaced by a far
all
right,
right.
probably Trump Republican, and you lose that seat anyway. So
And it
you got
sucks. It sucks, but I mean,
yes,
I get his
I get
situation.
it.
But
But at the same
cinema,
time, go ahead.
oh no, but cinema's coming from like Arizona was a red state, but now it's becoming a little bit more purple. And I
It's
mean,
light
you
blue,
didn't
I
expect
think. It's light blue.
light blue, yeah, light blue. It was a
It's
light
light
blue.
blue.
I mean, again, we didn't expect her to be like a AOC, but dang, what is she?
Right.
I mean, I don't because
She
there's a
got
lot of
to answer the phone though. You got to
yeah,
Senator Cinema. You got to answer your phone. You got to answer emails. That's part of being even if it's a staffer.
yeah,
Somebody got to get back to your
and
constituents.
and
You
you
can't you
gotta
can't
get
just not,
into
you can't ignore constituents.
and you got to get into these town halls. I know it's been COVID. I mean, you could say that
They
that's
use
probably the
that
reason.
excuse
Yeah,
when they
but
want to. Trump up
yeah,
here having rallies and shutting down 5 schools in Coleman.
but
With
can we have
COVID
virtual?
outbreaks. So
Yep,
you can do it. You can find a way to do what you
you
want to
can do a
do.
virtual. I mean, you can
You can
reach
do
out
it
to,
virtually.
but she does not care. And like I said, a lot of these interactions from her constituents, it may seem extreme. Like a lot of people, like that one instance where she was teaching at the Arizona State University, and then the protesters came follow into the restroom. Like they didn't follow her while she was using the restroom, but they were in the restroom. But you may seem like it's like that's a shocking thing to do, but
When you're doing
these
your
people,
job, you ain't got to worry about
yeah.
people following you into the restroom.
But that's the thing, though. Like the people, like they're at their wits end. They're at the last straw. Like we can't reach you, so hey, we gotta come to you, and
Got to
wherever
find
you
you.
are. So I mean, I get it. I get it.
And for those just not tuning in, this is the Electorate Political Talk Radio, legacy of the General Colin Luther Powell. We already talked about him in the first half, so if you missed that, definitely go back and rewind. After we wrap up, and check out what we had to say about the General. Right now, we kind of talking a little bit about current state of politics and current events. Um, so yeah, I think the Biden administration
They're
I,
on.
they slow walking it, and it's going to be frustrating if
Yeah.
you a Democrat and you voted and you feel like Democrats are in control. You probably really frustrated right now. But I will say I do believe Democrats do understand what's on the line, and
Oh.
Democrats and moderates and liberals on both sides of the Democratic Party will eventually come together and do what needs to be done just in time for the midterm elections, right? Because they're not in any kind of hurry right now. But
Yeah,
I
but
think when January rolls around, and I don't know, I think these bills will pass before the end of the year. Um, I think the insurrection, a lot of those prosecutions are going to roll kind of into the election cycle, and you'll see some higher ups. I see right now. I think the Justice
mm,
Department is kind of getting all the little folks, and
a
they
little bit.
slowly building. And so I think they're gonna hold some people accountable, and it could be people like Mo Brooks, could be people like Donald Trump. Who knows? I don't know what evidence they have or how high up it's going to go. But Mo Brooks is on record as saying he knew something was going on
Hmm.
before on January 5th.
Hmm.
I mean that's egregious. and then you got out there and spoke and had on a bulletproof
All right,
coat during the why is Mo Brooks putting on a bulletproof coat to
at a
go
peaceful demonstration
at a
among
peaceful
the people
demonstration?
that support you and your president. I
And
mean,
y'all
like,
standing behind bulletproof glass. Well, I understand you got to do that for Trump. That's like a formality, right?
yeah,
But Mo Brooks, why are you wearing bulletproof
nobody.
clothing on January 6th before the insurrection when you're speaking to all these people who are about to leave this rally and go over here and break into the Capitol and kill
Like,
police officers?
like nobody checking for you, Mo. Nobody checking for you.
And so the one thing I know about Merrick Garland, Attorney General Merrick Garland, he is not playing with y'all at all. He's by the book, should be on the Supreme Court, but
We know
he
that
didn't
story.
make it.
You know that.
But he's the Attorney General now. He's the top cop, and he's going to hold people accountable, and it's going to go high up.
Yeah,
And I'm wondering is some of the indictments gonna kind of coincide with the timing of whether or not there will be a former president running again for
mm,
president.
yeah.
Can you run for president and you indicted for treason? You know,
I
so
mean, I
that's
guess you can, but we'll see. I mean, we may see. We may see.
so I mean I think that's some of what's going to play out. When these indictments start rolling out, because like I said, they're getting all the small folks right now. When these indictments start rolling out, we're going to see what impact that may have on not just 2022, but 2024, because it
Yeah,
could have some wide ranging implications. Because President Biden going to make his mind up pretty soon. Is it going to be him running for re-election, or does he got to find a lieutenant? Is Vice President Harris going to run? Is Donald Trump going to run? I mean, it's a lot.
oh yeah,
That's that's at stake in these next couple of years. So
yeah. But
I don't know what's
I
gonna
think,
happen.
and that's the fun of it, isn't it? It's
You're
the
right.
fun. But going back to President Biden, like I say, I think that the congressional Democrats they got to get both of those bills out, and then I would say like it may not be 3.5 trillion, but that second bill has to make an impact in Americans' lives because if it's not making an
Yes.
impact in their lives, people are not going. If they're not feeling it, they are not coming out to vote. I mean, they're not going to feel like there's a reason to vote unless there's a something else that comes up within the next with the next few months that just that drags them to the polls. But if they're not engaged and they feel like that the Democrats have like a majority, it's tenuous.
Right.
But if they don't see results and they don't feel those results, they're not going to be excited to come vote, and then that's going to spell problems for Democrats in 2022 and for President Biden in 2024 if he decides to run.
Right.
But I say, like, first things first, just let's get both of those bills out, and then maybe we can. And like I said, we're 1 year away from the election, so that's a long time
Right.
to say like where things will go. But if they don't pass anything out of there like before the end of the year, then next year is out of the question because everyone's running for reelection and they're not trying to do
Right.
anything. So they got to do this. So that's that that has to be done, and then we can worry about like whether the approval ratings for both the congressional Democrats and President Biden is high enough for both of them to win in 2022 and 2024.
Well, I want to shout out UK Rock Radio from Station Head. What's going on? We got an international listener in the building. You might be our first international listener. So, man, appreciate you, UK Rock Radio. He said, "Yo, grumpy man from Station Head here, man. Appreciate you for pulling up, man, all the way from the UK. So we've reached international status
So
on the
that's a
electorate.
milestone.
We
Milestone.
worldwide, baby." Oh man, and the Magic City Classic is this week. So
Uh-oh.
Alabama State versus Alabama A&M. We rock with the Bulldogs over here. So go and donate to Alabama A&M University. There's the website on the screen. Support historically black colleges and universities. So this week we represent for the Bulldogs, Alabama A&M. So go make your donation and tell them you you got the link from the Electorate Political Talk Radio.
Well, well, I don't have a car in the race, but I know
Yeah,
people
yeah.
from both. I know people from both institutions.
Shout out to
but
Alabama State. We love Alabama State too. I know people from both too.
but give to Alabama A&M. This is Max show. It is
Yeah.
so let's get
Give
to
to
the
Alabama
support.
State too,
Okay.
man. Donate to somebody. Clark Atlanta, Morehouse, Spelman, Tennessee State University, Grambling, Stillman
Yes,
College, Talladega
Talladega.
College,
Yeah,
Tuskegee. Donate to all of them, baby.
it's all love,
Support
all love.
historically black colleges and universities. And if you donate it, send me your receipt. I'll think about matching it. I'll think about it. I ain't guaranteeing it. Y'all might be rich, but send me your receipt. And I just might match you. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll
Depending on
see.
what that
Yeah,
amount.
but yeah, definitely support those institutions.
Support historically black
They are the
colleges and
back.
universities.
They are the backbone of our people.
Yeah.
Coming out of the Civil War, Reconstruction, and they were there for us to give our grandparents and our parents a life to give to us to be able
Right.
to to succeed in this world. So let's support HBCUs.
Oh, my sister pulling up Tuskegee.
Uh oh.
Hey, go on, donate to Tuskegee. I might match. Hey, Brittany, I tell you what. You donate to Tuskegee, I'll match your donation. Send me your receipt.
Okay.
That's on everything. Send me your receipt, Brittany, and I will match your donation to TU.
But I will say though, like I did attend and graduate from the University of Alabama, but one of the HBCUs I did consider going to was Howard University. So I
Okay,
did
okay.
consider it. I did consider it. So
I considered I went Prince's I went to the University of Alabama as well, but I considered Tuskegee at the time. I toured their campus. They didn't have a major at the time. Alabama A&M had a program where you could go there for I think 2 years or so, and then 2 or 3 years and transfer to Georgia Tech, and your degree would say both universities. But that that I didn't want to transfer, so I ended up just going to Alabama, and they gave me the most money. But
yeah.
I got so many. Mom went to A&M, my dad went to Alabama State. Brother and sister went to Tuskegee, so got cousins and aunties and uncles that went to both. So got two little cousins at A&M right now. Shout out to Taylor and Tyler. What's up? Y'all better get them grades together now. Make
And
that honor roll, make that dean's list.
I think in state, I think I remember. I think Alabama A&M was probably one of the ones I would have considered if I did attend the HBCU in state. I would have considered A&M.
Okay, bro. Okay, bro. All right. I got you.
That's a bet.
Yeah, we got the comments, man.
Loving this.
Appreciate you, UK Rock.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, but I will. I make one. I make one last point too about something you said earlier. Um, about passing the bills in a timely manner, because like you said, they have to have time to make a difference, make an impact,
Hmm.
and we are running up on that time frame to where if you wait too long, it takes about a year. People don't understand when a bill gets passed, it don't happen immediately.
Yep.
You got to set it up. You got to set up the infrastructure for the bill. If it has to go through you got to figure out which department is going to administer it,
Hmm.
whether it's transportation, health and human excuse me, health and human services. I mean, there's all these different departments. So I mean, we don't know how long it actually takes for bills to make it to your pocketbook. Now, certain stuff like tax cuts and things like that to go through the IRS
Yeah, that's
or
easily.
stimulus checks, those things can happen a little quicker because you're not necessarily setting up a program. You already have a structure in place to where they're just cutting you a check, right? But a lot of these bills a lot of what's going to be impacted by the bills that Biden is proposing.
With the
Excuse me,
child credits, right?
it's gonna take some time, and so that's a good point.
Especially
We
with the
wait too long.
especially with the infrastructure portion of it. That takes a few years to really
Yeah, it take a long time.
really
Yeah,
get what we're going.
infrastructure,
Yeah.
man. Yeah,
But
if
you
you
can still
talk
talk
about
about it. We're investing in this now. Like the money's there. We're ready to get the shovel ready. But it takes a while. So, but still, we need to get both of those bills out of the the House and Senate, and until President Biden's there, so we can start focusing on what we can do, like in a hopefully with a more robust majority in the House and Senate after the 2022 elections, hopefully. But I mean, but
Right.
it's not looking good right now. But again, a year is a long time in
It
political
really
time.
is.
Yeah.
And Mitch McConnell is just aching to get the keys back.
Mhm.
Some people say he ain't he ain't let them go yet, but he done came off of them. Trust me, because we wouldn't have what we got with the stimulus package, the Biden stimulus, if he
but
was in charge. So
but I understand a lot of what people say. Like, where's the things for for African Americans and everything. Like I said, we
right, we
gotta
don't have
people gotta
anything for.
see people gotta see results. They gotta see these results. We were talking about it all throughout 2020. We get the White House and the Congress. Things gonna happen, but people want to see results, so we gotta
And
give
you
it to
better
them.
hope it's enough in these
Yeah.
bills coming out for black people that we'll be okay if we don't get the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the
Hmm.
George Floyd Police Reform Act, because it's not looking like we're getting those. So you better hope these other two bills satisfy
Hmm.
black Americans if you can't get the other ones through Congress. So
And you gotta
that's
prove,
another issue.
and you gotta prove
You
to the
know,
voters that, like, we give
we
you
got to
the
prove it.
majority again. We want that done on the first day. We want it done.
Yeah, we want it done now.
Yeah, but now,
So I
yeah,
mean,
now we
a
do.
lot of
But
people, we gonna lose a lot of people, but you got Warnock running again.
mhm.
You got a lot of folks. So I think we'll come out, but people gonna want to see a little bit more than even these bills that we got that we probably gonna get. So it's tough right now, but we got to see some results.
Yeah,
It's not meant to be easy.
no, it's not. So you ask for our votes, give us
That's
the
right.
results.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Electorate Political Talk Radio. Prince, man, I'll give you the final word. We down to 3 minutes.
Well, again, no, rest in peace to General Colin Powell. I think he's having a private service on November 5th, I believe. It's going to be in the
Yeah,
National
I
Cathedral, I
don't
think.
think he's gonna lie in state, is he?
I, at least I haven't seen
I hadn't
anything, but
heard
more than
that.
like,
Yeah,
but given his character, I think he doesn't want all
he
the
didn't want
fuss.
that.
He want the fuss. He just wants to, just wanted a private ceremony with his loved ones, and they can remember him that way. So, given his character, I'm sure that's what he wanted. So,
Right.
but yeah, but rest in peace to him, and then also to the Democrats in Congress and the White House. Let's get to work. Let's
Get
get
to
this
work.
done. Let's get this done.
Quit playing with us.
Because these people don't, they're not they play, especially the younger generation, like the people that are younger than us, Generation Z. Like I was talking about that with some other people. Like, they're the generation that's gonna kick over tables and chairs. So they're not to
Right.
be played with. So we gotta give some results here.
Yes, sir. And again, thank you, Prince, for being a co-host, man. Appreciate you, brother. As always, do not
Oh
take
yeah,
your
no
time for
problem.
granted. I know you was on tour last week, but I'm glad to have you this week.
I
Uh,
know.
donate to black colleges, historically black colleges and universities. It's Classic Week. Alabama State versus Alabama A&M. Go Bulldogs! And like I said, send me your receipt for your donation to a HBCU. And who knows, I just might match it. We'll see. Holla at your boy. This has been the Electoral Political Talk Radio. Thank y'all for coming. Tune in next time. Peace.